Hi, my name is Mandolin Royal, and today I'm going to be cooking some chicken. The chicken on the right is one of our American breasts that we processed last Sunday, weighing in at 3 pounds and 11 ounces. And then we have Katie's Best from the grocery store today. It was the best option of chicken to get. I didn't want to get the cheapest one, so I looked through the selection for a similar sized bird. This one's a little over 4 pounds. It is absolutely a Cornish Cross. That's the only thing you're going to find in the grocery store. And based on size, I'd pin this bird to be about 7 weeks old or so. But a lot of people are starting to get interested in making the switch, because you can pop over to a hatchery and do an order for Cornish Cross chicks, and they may or may not come reliably, depending on the economics and what's going on. Versus doing your own chicken at home. You hatch it on your schedule, raise it, process it, there you go. But there's some very key differences between the two. So this one had a much longer grow time, 19 weeks. But genetically they're very different. And I'm absolutely going to take them out of the package. We're going to handle them and look at them, see where they're different raw. But I'm going to have to cook them separately. And that's one thing that some people may not know yet, is that these slower grown birds have to be cooked differently. When you look up a recipe on the Google, you're going to get cooking instructions for this one. So if you apply those instructions to a bird like this, you're probably not going to like those results. The temperature has to be different. So I went ahead and I preheated the oven to 425. That's for this bird here. We're going to cook it first, and then we're going to lower the temperature to 325 for this one. I'm going to flavor them the same. We're going to do a side of potatoes, carrot, onion, garlic. I'm going to keep the flavor profile simple. I'm going to put lemon on the inside with a bunch of fresh thyme, a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper, a little bit of garlic. Nothing too outlandish. I saw some recipes that were really trying to jazz up these birds, because one of the things that's different is your flavor profile, because the chicken doesn't really start to develop that chickeny flavor until after 12 weeks. So this bird is definitely going to have flavor covered. It's not going to need a whole lot of extra care and attention, but these benefit from exciting recipes. So I'm going to go ahead and get these prepped and ready to go into their baking pans. And then we're going to talk about what's different structurally. Alright, so I've pulled them out of their packaging. I rinsed them off and dried them off after washing my hands, sanitizing the sink, and all those things hygiene related. So we're going to start with the back end of the bird. I want to see how much fat this one has. There's a little bit in there. It's annoying that the split in the skin is so high up. Hopefully that doesn't peel back while we're cooking, because that'll dry out that part of the bird. And there's a difference in the feel of the fat, the color of the fat, and the quantity. This bird did not receive special finishing. He essentially was running wild from 8 weeks on to 19 weeks old. He didn't get the benefit of a milk finish with grains, nor did we do any confinement with him. I wonder if I can get color up here. One-handed, yeah, kinda. Yeah, the composition of the fat's different. This one looks a little more pink in the breast than this one does. As much as I would love to skin these and show you that part. I don't want to sabotage the cooking process. So both of these birds, they did have time to age, and you can tell they're ready to cook when everything is loosey-goosey like that. You should have freedom of movement, and if you don't have that yet, then that bird's not ready to cook yet. Now the Cornish Cross, they're a 4-way terminal cross hybrid. They are double muscled. There's absolutely no way to get this amount of meat in this amount of time without doing it that way. It's truly a marvel of science and breeding, really. Because we have a hungry population on this planet, so I understand the need of these. But we just prefer to do it on our own. The breeding, the hatching, the rearing, the whole thing. We like to keep all of it at home. But these guys were not meant to live past this age. They're not going to go on to become future layers. They're not going to go on to be breeding stock. Sometimes people have had success limiting their feed and hanging on to them to do a little dabbling in hybridization from a hybrid, but your losses may still be quite high doing it that way. It's really difficult to feel the keel bone, and with the double muscling gene they have, that's not surprising. It's about that long. Pretty similar there. I'm going to flip them over and get a look at the other side. They do have a rather significant difference in age, so I can't judge too harshly on that. But really, I'm just looking at the comparisons here. When you're measuring your back width, see where it ties in right here, ties in right here. So this little young guy is a solid 3-finger. This one's showing a little more definition of shape. Over 4 fingers wide. This one has giant meat pockets. That's my favorite part. It's right there. This one feels pretty flat, but I know they're in there. Some people will call them oysters, and I'll show you why when we break these down after cooking, because there's like a little scoop of bone in here, and it just fits right in there. They left a little bit of neck. There's some fat up on the front. Oh, color difference. This one has brighter pink up here. Now this Cornish Cross from the store, they didn't mention an ingredient list whatsoever on the packaging. So I don't know if the regulations changed for that, or if it means it wasn't even packed in brine. There really wasn't much water in the package, so it's possible that they didn't put flavorizers and tenderizers and all that in there. But the regulations could have changed too, so it's hard to say. This bird, I know exactly where it's been and what's happened to it, how it's grown. Every little detail we know on this one. This one, I know it came from Indiana. It didn't say anything about pasture raising on the front of it, so I'm going to assume it came out of a building. But now that these are getting to room temperature, they're almost ready to cook, so I've got to get them ready to go. Get the flavors in there. We're going to put lemon and thyme on the inside and salt and pepper on the outside with a little bit of oil brushed on there. And that's just for the benefit of the skin crispness later. I am going to have to cook them differently. So this one is going to go in second I'm going to put it back in the refrigerator while we wait on this guy to cook. And then once they're cooled off, we're going to break inside. I'm hoping they can visually show the difference in texture. The most obvious difference in texture is this part of the bird right here. And that's the difference between legs being used and legs not being used. Should be pretty insightful. I haven't bought one of these in over 6 years. It's neat to see the comparisons. I'm learning right along with you guys. So I'm back with some more notes. I haven't put one in the oven yet, as you can see. But the recipe called for tying the legs together. Another option you have for trussing the bird is to cut little holes in the side flap of skin, put the leg through it. And this one's not holding in tight because of the width going on here. But this one is. That's nice and tucked in there. I also had to turn this one sideways. Body length was a lot different as it turned out. And when I cut the holes on the side for trussing, the thickness of the fat layer was a lot different. This is a way thicker layer here. I also didn't talk much about skin thickness a couple of minutes ago. And the breasts are supposed to have a thin skin, but that varies flock to flock and bloodline to bloodline. But that, I think, is what's contributing to the color difference, is the skin thickness. Cornish Cross has a thicker skin to it. You can see through here it's a lighter color. I think that's what's doing it. Skin thickness. I'm learning all kinds of stuff today. Alright, so this one's going back in the refrigerator. This one's going in the oven. While this one's cooking, I'm going to work on our side vegetables, which I'm going to cook with this guy, because that's the temperature I need. But if I think of anything else, I'll go ahead and add it in. So I did think of something else. We have to cook these guys covered. And you don't want your foil touching the bird. I've learned prior that the skin will stick to it. When you peel the foil, the skin will peel with it. So I've got the Cornish Cross tented. I put 3 little vent holes in here. So this guy's ready to go. That last half hour of cooking, that's when you pull that cover off so you can get your skin color and crispness going on. The recipe that I'm using called for an hour and a half for a 5 to 6 pound bird. And this guy's a little over 4 pounds. So I'm going to have to monitor that temperature because we're aiming for a minimum of 160 degrees. I prefer them to go a little bit further than that. Closer to 170. Now we're ready to put this guy in. So we're here looking at these pretty vegetables because of course I thought of some more stuff while I was chopping this stuff up. We've got yellow potatoes, baby carrots, onion, 4 cloves of garlic, butter, some of the leftover fresh thyme, salt and pepper, and a little paprika in here. But before I forget again, there was a giant disparity between the birds in their cavity size. And what I mean by that is the inside of the bird, where their internal organs are. And based off of seeing the insides versus the outside, it is absolutely no wonder why the Cornish Cross birds can have problems and fall over dead on you, because there's really not much space inside of there for their organ function, and that's their heart, for their circulatory system, their digestive tract, everything. It was very tight. I had to quarter the lemon in order to get enough inside of the Cornish Cross bird. So that was another little interesting note. But now, we get to take a little break. Put the lid on here. We've got 10 more minutes till I take the Cornish Cross out of the oven so it can start cooling and we can get the other one going. But I'm excited to get into those birds, and I'm really hoping they show the texture difference because the meat fibers are different, and that'll be interesting to see. Alright, here's our Cornish Cross. He's got 30 minutes remaining on the clock. I just pulled the aluminum foil off so we can let this skin gain some color to it. One of the things I forgot to mention earlier is that I did put a little over a 1/4 inch, almost 1/2 inch of water in the bottom, and I used sunflower oil over the surface, and I treated both birds equally in that regard, so we'll be able to see what sort of broth cooks off into the bottom. I'm not going to baste this one right off the bat since I did freshly uncover it, but I'm going to keep an eye on it over this last half hour and baste as needed. I'm hoping for a good result here because I've got plans to eat. We'll do some of it with the vegetables, and then I'm going to save some of it and do a chicken Alfredo. I'm going to go ahead and get this guy back in there so we can finish up. So here's the finished color on our Cornish Cross, and that temperature went a little bit over 190 degrees. But this is what the recipe told me to do, so I did it. It looks great. I should also mention that I'm not a chef. I know how to grow food, but my husband's the chef. He's otherwise occupied right now, so I'm standing here doing this. But that looks pretty good. And we got some juices off that bird. So I'm going to go ahead and set this one in the microwave where it can cool off while the other one gets going. Turned out pretty, so there's that. But I'm excited to get into the texture of it. That's probably the biggest difference. We'll get there. Another 1.5 hours or so to go. So here's the American Bresse coming out with 30 minutes remaining. And I think I learned my lesson on that first bird. So I'm going to go ahead and check the temperature of this one now and see where we're at. I don't want to accidentally end up inside the cavity. Definitely keep it in the breast temperature. So it's a little past 160. So cooking wise it's done, but we want that color on the skin. So I'm going to go ahead and put it back in there and observe that final half hour, because I do want these to have cooked equally. That way we get a more accurate comparison between them. I'm here with the American Bresse. I just pulled it out of the oven. We're going to get a temperature reading here. Right outside of the rib cage, into the meatiest part. Wanted to make sure I had them ending in the same neighborhood. So they're within 10 degrees of each other. I'm satisfied with that. This one picked up a little bit of coloring because I did bump up the oven to the 425 mark for that last half hour. If you have the low temperature settings, it's going to be tricky to get the color. But you can also cheat at the end and use your broil setting. But I didn't do that. So I'm going to go ahead and get these guys positioned. We're going to start cutting into the Cornish Cross first. This one's going to have to rest for at least 10 minutes. And then we'll get into both of them and look at their comparables. So here's both of the birds out of the oven. looks like Katie really did bring her best. This wing fell off while we were in transit, but it's a good time to see doneness to see if that one comes off too. Oh, and it does. Ow. This one's still really hot. So we're going to break into the Cornish Cross first. That higher temperature brought about a more consistent color. But we're not doing this for the color of the bird. We're doing this for flavor. So let me go ahead and start working on getting them parted out. And we'll see if they're going to show us the difference in texture. So I'm not quite sure how to get through this one-handed, but I've already got some notes. Now, this is the wing that came off the Cornish Cross. I'm going to bring over the wing that came off the American Bresse. There's a big size difference, which would be expected for age of bird. Meat-wise, these portions are really similar, with a little bit more meat on the American Bresse. Now the thigh is significantly different. I'm going to see if I can get... Ow, hot, hot, hot. That's the difference in thigh. That's huge. And the color is very similar, with some more darker meat down in there. We'll get back to these thighs here in a moment. I cut off the same portion of breast meat. The Cornish Cross is thicker, but that's to be expected because it's double muscled. But I'm having a hard time seeing where that double muscling actually is, because there's a separation here between upper and lower, and that same separation is in the American Bresse too. See how smooth that meat is? That's a separation of fibers, and it's in the same spot. So I'm unsure of that definition of double muscling. It must mean the muscles themselves, because those portions, yeah, that must be it. Now, if you've been reading anything I've written on Facebook and some of the American Bresse groups, I've talked about fibers of the meat. Now, the Cornish Cross bird is a short fiber meat bird. The American Bresse is a long fiber meat bird. And I think we're going to get, I don't know, we'll see. See how that just came off of there in short little striations? I'm going to see if this one does the same thing. Kinda. But there's more length to the fibers of the meat. And that's what I mean by that. I gotta take a bite. I'm sorry. Oh my god. That's good chicken. I've been cooking all day and I haven't been eating. So I'm going to try a couple of bites. Oh man. Okay. I'm going to back it with the Cornish Cross. It's been a while. That's saltier. They brine that bird a bunch more than I brined mine. It's good, but it's soft. That's very soft. Alright, so the texture, it's not showing as visually as I wanted it to. But mouthfeel wise, that was different. And Cornish Cross was a lot softer. But these thighs, that's where most people see a difference. So we have a upper thigh portion here that fell right off. And this is that same portion. Not quite fallen off. The same. The American breast did have a lot more meat to it. Visually, I'm not seeing a difference, but I'm going to see if I can taste the difference or feel the difference. Part of the culinary art to this stuff is mouthfeel. Something I've learned over time with cooking and living with a guy that fancies himself a home chef. He doesn't do it professionally, but some of what he cooks at home, it really outshines what I do. Oh, it's good. So the American breast, that's what I think of when I think of chicken. There's flavor in there. I don't know that I would call it chewy. I would just call it chicken. But we've been doing this for a while. So I'm going to follow that with the Cornish Cross. Okay. That's a lot softer. And by soft, I mean there's no texture to it. That was pretty much breast meat to me. That's definitely soft. It doesn't have that much flavor either. It's very mild. In hindsight, I probably should have packed this bird with garlic all the way through. And I should have worked some spices in between the skin and the meat. That was pretty basic. I need some more of this. That's better. So I've been ruined. Absolutely ruined on store-bought meat. It doesn't have the same level of interest. The nonce is gone. One end of the bird is the same as the other end of the bird. But in the American breast, you're getting two different meat types here. Oh, that was good. Alright, I'm going to get this stuff put away. Get this video ready to upload. I'm probably going to nitpick some more bites here. Oh, I've got to show you the back straps. I ought to be able to get that out of here one-handed. And those are my favorite pockets of meat. Right there on the back. That's scooped out pretty mushy. I'm still gonna eat it though. I picked up the flavor of the herbs on the inside. I caught the lemon there. This one came out with the thigh on the American breast, but the other one's still in there. This one's bigger. See, I thought it was going to be the other way around. I thought the Cornish Cross was going to have the bigger oyster back here. But it's actually the American breast that's got the bigger one. Now this is a muscle that never gets exercised. Oh, that's richer. For sure. I'm going to need every little piece out of here. That was it. I'll probably take this piece too. Oh man. I'm sorry, but I'm starving. Both of these turned out good. But this one, that American breast, that's where that flavor is. It's got a lot of interest going to it. Cornish Cross, I mean, it'll do. But even going back to this little revisit here, I don't feel the need to raise them. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing over here. That was good. For our mild flavor profile. That bird wins. Alright, I'm going to wash my hands. Get these parted out the rest of the way. Get a plate going for the husband. Get this video online so you guys can hear these thoughts. I'm glad I did this though. It was a nice little reminder. The extra time, the extra effort. That's worth it, man.